Alright y'all, what's up? Today I'm going to be showing you this top end rebuild on my 1998 ZR600EFI. What initially happened to it is it ended up overheating, and then when I took it apart, I didn't really find anything too wrong with it, but just in case I had the head checked, just to make sure it wasn't warped in the pistons. I have some videos that I'm going to make on the pistons and using a honing kit, but right here we're just going to be putting the rings in, the jugs, the pistons themselves, the wrist pins, all that fun stuff, and the heads. So right now I'm putting the rings in. These rings have a little concave to them. Okay, so there's two rings, compression rings, and the beveled edge, the concave beveled edge on it needs to face up, and then you got arrows on there. Now, typically on a motor, the arrows usually point towards the flywheel. On this, the directions the user manual said to point forward to the front of the motor. So that's what I did here, and then you can see me trying to slide these heads on. And they're a little bit of a struggle because if you notice, if you're rebuilding one of these, there's a little stopper in there, so you got to line the rings right up with it. So you can see me with a screwdriver trying to pin it in there and then work my way on it. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to it, honestly. I mean, we're just throwing the rings in there. You'll actually notice me make a mistake right here. So these jugs were off of a different motor. It was still 98 ZR600 motor, but for some reason there's inserts on the bottom of them. So there's little inserts that are on the block. I should have got a little zoom up of it, but basically off the other motor they were on, they stayed on the jug. So I pulled them out of the block with the jug, and I never noticed it until when I went to put that on. So I cut that out real quick, took that insert out, and then put it back in, put the jug back in. So here we're trying to get the rings on, or trying to get the piston over the ring, or the jug over the rings, and just kind of loose fitting the nuts in there till we can get everything. And now you can see me putting the gaskets on there. So there's two gaskets. There's a bigger one and a smaller one. The head gaskets, obviously. And then we're fitting up the exhaust. So the torque for these jug nuts, the nuts that screw the jugs down, is 28 foot-pounds. So it didn't give me any pattern for it, so I just did a crisscross just to be safe with it. So that's what I did with that. Yeah, you can see me torquing them down right there, 28 foot-pounds. I crisscrossed it, and then, obviously the exhaust is hooked up, so the only thing we really have left is the head. And it was a bit of a pain to get the gaskets to line up, to be honest with you. My uncle was suggested to use a heat gun, and it worked. Got it in there, took 20 years, and you can see the head here. There's 12 bolts in total that screw the head down in place. So there's actually numbers on top of the head that tell you the sequence of what they need to be torqued. So the torque spec for them is 24 foot-pounds. And if you look at the head, typically, at least on these motors, there's a sequence for it. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then you got your antifreeze hookup to the left there. You can see me heating the gaskets up because it was just struggling to fit, and eventually I just grabbed some RTV silicone and put just a small dab in there just to be able to hold it in place, make sure it wasn't twisted or anything. And that's about it. There's not a whole lot to these two-stroke motors, honestly, just everything you've pretty much seen right there, and I listed the torque specs. So what happened is when I went to pull it, I had to start it on a different day because it was real late. I had to go to bed, so the fuel pump needed primed. So I just took the cap off, hooked it up to the battery, fired up, and then because the fuel regulator it kept dying, but it started. So unhooked it and it ran just fine. And here it is.